Main Street, USA. Everybody knows Main Street. Whether it's called Main Street, or Broadway, or Wilshire, or Michigan. Main Street is the part of town that everybody knows. It's where the action is. But just off Main Street, that's another story. That's the place that insiders know and outsiders often miss. So sit back, relax. Let me take you on a little trip just off Main Street.
People tell us they develop new perspectives as they travel America on Amtrak trains. Welcome to Amtrak's presentation of Just Off Main Street. In this program, we'll remind you of some familiar places and show you some that might not be so familiar. Later, we'll tell you more about our trains and tours, fares and connections, all of which make it easy for you to catch up on what you've been missing. Just off Main Street.
People come from all over to visit San Francisco. Built on one of the world's most beautiful deep-water bays, the city's been a keystone to the development of the West. Tall ships that permanently rest there remind us of voyages to the Gold Coast via the Horn. Resilient Frisco, of the 49ers, the quake, and the fire. Today, it's a bustling mid-sized city in the mainstream. It's a city of cable cars and boats and Fisherman's Wharf. And the fresh harvest of Fisherman's Wharf. There's the chocolate factory, now full of shops, restaurants, and galleries. The cannery, beautifully renovated for dining and shopping. And Alcatraz, from which there was no escape. Listen to Frank Haney, once the prison's youngest guard, talk about life on the Rock.
Well, it was very difficult for me. At age 21, I was too young and immature, as was pointed out by the warden, so I had a very hard time dealing with these very incorrigible type inmates. Some of the inmates I knew was George Machine Gun Kelly, Alvin Creepy Carpus, Robert Birdman Stroud, and even the driver for Bonnie and Clyde, he wound up in Alcatraz. A good place for people to see. They come from throughout the world to look at Alcatraz, and now I have a very comfortable feeling about the island.
San Francisco is a bustling city where the new coexist with the old to produce a contemporary charm found in few other places. But beyond these main streets, there's even more to San Francisco. For example, out by Main Yacht Harbor, there's also the reconstructed Palace of Fine Arts, first built for the Panama Pacific Exposition in 1915. Visitors often wander out to a nearby breakwater, and as they relax and enjoy the view, they might also examine an extraordinary instrument. A 20-pipe wave organ powered by the waters of the San Francisco Bay. and they can judge for themselves what the artists had in mind when they created this mysterious work of art.
It's not Brahms, that's for sure.
Or one might seek out the great Victorian homes of San Francisco. There they stand, restored to turn-of-the-century splendor. Homes of ornate style and cheerful colors. Homes conceived back in the legendary days of the Barbary Coast, when names like Lily Langtree, Gentleman Jim Corbett, and Diamond Jim Brady were on everybody's lips. Homes that are gracious survivors of an eventful past. Or you might choose to slip away on a boat to nearby Tiburon. Or to Sausalito, the Sorrento of America. These are small, colorful communities with quaint restaurants and shops. At Sausalito, there's a hotel where rooms have names like the Prince of Wales, the Queen Victoria, and the Lord Peel. So the next time you visit San Francisco, enjoy all that the main streets of this great city have to offer, but also add a few of the treats that are just off Main Street. When you think of the West, you think of mountains and deserts, of cattle and cowboys, and beautiful senoritas. And when you think of San Antonio, you think of the old Southwest. You think of early missions. You think of Spanish charm. Most of all, you think of the Alamo. There in the heart of San Antonio stands the old Alamo restored. Visitors from all over come to gaze reverently at its bullet-scarred walls, perhaps to recreate in their mind's eyes the heroic fight to the death of Bonham and Bowie, of Travis and Crockett, and a handful of patriots who fought to the death against the Mexican army in Texas War of Independence. But not too far away, there's another part of San Antonio that those who visit always remember. Paseo del Rio, the Riverwalk. Here, along the slowly meandering San Antonio River, visitors are shaded from the desert sun by lush trees. One is never far from a cool, refreshing drink. Or a fine meal taken in casual comfort. You might even be fortunate enough to see the Ballet Folklorica of San Antonio giving one of its frequent performances in the amphitheater right on the river. So the next time you visit the Great Southwest, by all means, see the Alamo. save an evening for the Paseo del Rio, too. Here in Los Angeles, visitors enjoy the new teeming L.A. and its sprawling suburbs. They shop, sometimes in ordinary, sometimes in extraordinary ways. They trace the footsteps of the stars, or simply marvel at the LA lifestyle. But those who have an eye for something different will seek out Hancock Park on Wilshire Boulevard. Here we see a dynamic phenomenon through which we, in the 20th century, are directly connected with life as it existed in prehistoric times. For thousands of years, here at the La Brea tar pits, oil has combined with natural springs and gas to form sticky asphalt deposits that reach from the surface deep down into the earth. Unsuspecting wildlife that ventured into these bogs often discovered that their last struggle would not be with other fierce animals, but with the earth itself. Today, the La Brea tar pits still bubble as they did 40,000 years ago. And on this site, there's also a fascinating museum.
Welcome to the Rancho La Brea Tar Pits and the George C. Page Museum of La Brea Discoveries. I'm Greg Bird, superintendent of this site, and 40,000 years of prehistory await you here. The Rancho La Brea Tar Pits are the richest source in all the world of Ice Age mammals and bird fossils. We found in excess of 1 million of the larger specimens, and if you count the microfossils, this would be small pieces of bone, pieces of teeth, insects, small matter. If you count them, we found in excess of 4 million individual specimens.
Indeed, one sees skeletons of primitive animals with names like the saber-toothed cat and the American lion, along with prehistoric ground sloths, camels, and horses. So the next time you're in L.A., see all you came to see. But also remember that right in the heart of this metropolis, you can see a lake that's 40,000 years deep. Chicago, the metropolis of the American heartland. No longer hog butcher of the world, to use Carl Sandburg's phrase, still city of the broad shoulders, a city of trains and trade. But also a city of parks, drives, beaches, boats, and shopping. Especially a city of art and architecture, where visitors are challenged by the works of Calder, Dubuffet, and Picasso. Of Bertram Grosvenor Goodhue, the Bauhaus master, Mies van der Rohe, And of course, Frank Lloyd Wright, one of the prime movers among the Chicago school. Those who really want to understand the artist and his work will head out a little off the main path to Oak Park, about 25 minutes from downtown. There they will find the home and studio of Frank Lloyd Wright. There are 30 Frank Lloyd Wright designed homes in Oak Park and neighboring River Forest. It's easy to see them at your own pace using recorded walking tours. The horizontal roof and massive brick walls give this house a feeling of strength and security. This house shows the influence of Japanese architecture on Wright's design in the multiple planes and gables of the roof. Evidence of Japanese influence is also present in this house in the design of the roof. This is the earliest of Wright's prairie houses in Oak Park. Its horizontal, low, ground-hugging silhouette unifies the house with the landscape. Here is a Wright-designed home with Tudor accents. So enjoy Chicago, city of the broad shoulders. But also drop by Oak Park for an in-depth look at one of its most productive geniuses. Charleston, South Carolina, USA. Natives say
It's where the Cooper and the Ashley Rivers join to form the Atlantic Ocean.
the peninsula has always been the main part of town. But if you haven't visited Charleston since the 1960s, you ain't seen nothing yet. In the 60s, Charleston undertook a major restoration. Its aim, to fully recapture the magnificence of its architectural and cultural heritage. This is Rainbow Row, in the oldest section of Charleston. Houses here predate the American Revolution. As time went on, the homes became ever more imposing.
Beautiful. Something like you see out of the movies. It's just something you can't imagine, really, unless you see it.
I loved it. I thought it was beautiful. I just can't believe it.
Every spring, the Spoleto Festival takes place in Charleston. It's named for the town that hosts its counterpart in Italy. Hundreds of exhibits and performances are held all around town and in the surrounding area to the delight of the public and the encouragement of budding artists. But there's also something special to see just outside Charleston: the plantations. Boone Hall. Scenes from Gone with the Wind and many other motion pictures and TV shows have been filmed here. The original slave quarters. Magnolia Plantation. The stately Drayton. Middleton Place, famous for its terraced lawns and formal gardens. And many others. So if you think there's something you've been missing, you're probably right. If you haven't seen all of Charleston, South Carolina, USA.
You've just had a glimpse of what's out there, all over America, just off Main Street. There's much more to see, and seeing is only part of the wonderful experience of being there. If you would like to take a trip, either to Main Street or just off Main Street, Amtrak has good news for you. Amtrak's modern trains serve some 500 destinations across the country, with big picture windows, so you see the country you're passing through. And mealtime on a long-distance train is still something special. Some trains have movies. Overnight passengers sleep in big reclining coach seats, or purchase accommodations that are bedrooms by night and sitting rooms by day. They're Amtrak tours that make it easy to see, hard to see places. And auto rentals available for those who want to go farther at their own pace. There are train plane packages if time is a concern, and also many special low fares. And with Amtrak's travel planner, it's easy to pick a trip to suit your interest. So why wait? Take a little time from your livelihood. Add a little time to your life by calling your travel agent or Amtrak, 1-800-USA-RAIL. Now back to just off Main Street.
People think of New York as a Main Street kind of place. We think of the financial district, high fashion, advertising, and the theater. The parks. The museums. But even New Yorkers are continually surprised at what they might find just around the corner. Like this quiet neighborhood that many famous people called home. In this house once lived a storyteller who gave us such marvelous characters as Rip Van Winkle, the Headless Horseman, and Ichabod Crane. The storyteller? Washington Irving. A grateful city named this street, and a high school after him. There, in Pete's Tavern, short story writer O. Henry was a regular. He raised the surprise ending to a fine art. This is Gramercy Park, a private little park which gives this neighborhood its name. Residents of the buildings bordering Gramercy Park have their own keys that let them in. On the south side of the park, the Players, an exclusive club founded in 1888 by the great Shakespearean actor Edwin Booth. A place where to this day, the greats of stage and screen can slip away for some private camaraderie. This fine old building on 87th Street is Gracie Mansion. It's been the residence of the mayor of New York since 1942. It offers the mayor a fine view of the East River. If you're in the neighborhood, you might not be invited in, but you can enjoy the same view from Carl Schur's Park next door. Brooklynites have a tranquil retreat of their own, a promenade along the East River at Brooklyn Heights. Here they enjoy a spectacular view of the Manhattan skyline, as well as the busy New York Harbor and the Statue of Liberty. A great place to walk or talk, or just watch the world go by. So you see that in this busiest of cities, just off the main streets, there are special places to be discovered by those who seek them out. And indeed, isn't part of the excitement of America that there's always something new to experience, even if it means taking a trip just off Main Street?